weaved my way through the winding mountain roads in an old box truck, hoping to see some sign of civilization. I thought this new delivery job at Amazing was going to be easy. 8 hours a day dropping packages around town? Who couldn't do that? Little did I know that my first assignment would be dropping a large load a couple states away. It was a simple task, but once I hit the highway, the drive was long and monotonous. Miles and miles of trees, rocks, and asphalt. I'd been on the road since before sunrise, and it was now approaching late afternoon. I was tired and hungry, and just wanted to take a break and stretch my legs. After hours of nothing, an automated female voice cracked through the background noise.
In 1 mile, turn right on exit 47, Drake Falls.
I glanced at the GPS, a standard outdated model that the company provided to all new drivers, and was relieved to see that there was indeed a town just ahead. My eyes moved from the pulsating blue dot to the estimated arrival time, and I smiled even wider. I only had another hour to go after a quick stop here, but as I made the turn onto exit 47, the display on the GPS flickered and blinked off. Oh, what the hell now? I cursed. I followed the exit and drove into Drake Falls, pulling off on the side of Main Street to inspect my route finder. I pressed the power button numerous times, held it in for a few seconds, flicked the screen with my fingers, nothing. I continued to fiddle, checking the wires and pressing every button on the device. Nothing worked. I pulled out my cell phone to check for a signal, same thing. Completely dead. So was the company radio. In a brief burst of anger, I punched the GPS, knocking it from its mount and right out the window of the box truck. It landed by the feet of a pedestrian, an elderly woman who adjusted her spectacles and looked up at me. "I'm so sorry, ma'am," I said sheepishly.
"That's quite the temper you have, young man,"
she scolded.
"But I know these newfangled gizmos can be confusing. My grandson bought me this remote television control stick last year, and I'll be danged if I can get the thing to..."
Yeah, they're really tricky, I had to cut in. Otherwise, she might have gone on for God knows how long. "I'm sorry, but I'm sort of in a hurry. Is there a place in town where I can get a new GPS?"
"A GPS?
A new gizmo, like that one," I explained, pointing to the broken hunk of plastic at her feet.
We don't have any of those big box stores here, but you might find something at Little Alexander's pawn shop down on 3rd Street. He gets..."
"Thank you very much, ma'am," I called, slamming the truck into gear and driving off. I didn't want to be rude, but I was definitely getting rambling grandma vibes from this lady, and I really wanted to get to the drop point before dark. I cruised down the road, looking for 3rd. All the numbered streets connected to main streets in these small towns, and it wasn't long before I saw it. I turned onto 3rd and saw Alexander's a few blocks up. It was kind of a hole in the wall. The entrance was tucked into an alley behind what was probably the dirtiest bar in Drake Falls. If not for the sign out front, I doubt I would have even found the place. The door opened with a hard thunk. The clapper must have fallen out of the bell a long time ago. I looked around and let's just say my expectations were met. Half the shelves were bare, and the rest were cluttered with assorted junk. I walked through the mess to the counter in the back. This is what I was looking for. Behind the glass were the few items that people might actually have a use for: guns, knives, and electronics. "Can I help you?" came a holler from the back room. Alexander came limping up to the counter. He didn't disappoint either. The man was rotund, and used an old wooden cane to support his stiff leg as he walked. He wore jeans that were too big, held up by thin red suspenders. No shirt, but thankfully, he had a ratty vinyl vest covering most of his upper body. "Oh, you got a delivery for me?" he asked. "No, sir. I'm just passing through. My GPS died as soon as I got off the highway. I was told you might be able to help me out." "I've had a few folks complain about that very thing when they come into town, but you're in luck. Alexander said, grabbing a ring of keys from his pocket. He bent down and unlocked the glass case. He reached in and retrieved a GPS that looked even older than the one the company gave me. It was a very dated CARMINE GP Express. "I've seen a few of these come and go. Never had one returned, but I always seem to have one in stock. Should get you where you're going." "Looks like a piece of shit," I blurted out, but I was in a bind. Beggars can't be choosers, I guess. How much? $100, Alexander answered. I was pretty sure he just spat a number out that he thought I'd pay. And he was right. "Bag it up," I said. I left the shop and drove to a nicer part of town to grab a burger and fries. Daylight was burning though, so I decided to set up the CARMINE and eat on the way. Surprisingly, it was fully charged. The mapping system was in dire need of an update, but that would have to wait. I punched in the address, and the display twisted and turned finally, pointing me in the right direction.
In 400 feet, turn right onto Couch Lane.
I did just that, and followed the rest of the directions to get out of town. It didn't take me back to the highway, though. Instead, it led me through a series of back roads. I pulled up alternative routes, and this seemed to be the quickest way. The old machine knew what it was doing. After a half hour of navigating obscure, narrowing roads, I had a feeling something wasn't right. The warehouse was supposed to be right off Interstate 88, but the GPS was leading me further and further away from the highway. I stopped and punched in the address again.
Recalculating.
It proposed the same route as before. I tried to retrieve the alternative routes again, but they had vanished from the system.
No alternative routes available.
What? What do you mean, no alternative routes? I pushed the button again and again, but the damn thing just kept on saying,
No alternative routes available.
Fine, I finally conceded. Lead on. I continued down the crumbling road, hoping at some point it would intersect with a street that wasn't falling to pieces. Quite the opposite. As I drove on, the road fell away completely, first turning into loose stone and then thinning to dirt. I stopped the truck and looked at the GPS angrily. It was then that I noticed the lines on the map. There weren't any. According to the display, I wasn't even on a road. The damned outdated maps had taken me down a road that probably hadn't been used since people were still using gas station map books. I reclined back in my seat and exhaled hard, trying to figure out what to do next. Do I turn back and loop all the way back around? Do I follow this dirt road and hope for the best? It had to come out somewhere, right? Then Carmen's voice broke the silence.
Continue on your present course.
It was almost as if she knew what I was thinking. What did you just say to me?
Continue on your present course.
Fine. The sun fell behind the trees as I pushed on. I took it slow. Wasn't about to speed through this place and risk blowing a tire. The chirping of crickets, flapping of birds, and the crunching of twigs and leaves was all I could hear as I crept forward. No other traffic, no distant voices. Civilization was long gone. Then I heard sloshing. It sounded like I drove into a muddy mess, but how? It hadn't rained all day. Mud and rocks kicked up and hit the side of the box truck. That was enough for me. That's it. We're going back, Carmen. You got me lost, you dummy.
No, you are right where I want you.
What the hell? Just then, I heard a loud crash behind the box truck. I looked in the side mirror and saw a tree fell on the road, blocking the way out. I saw a pair of gleaming yellow eyes through the branches. Then more began to appear throughout the woods and all around the truck.
Your destination is on the right.
I looked at the passenger side window. As if on cue, it shattered, and an object landed on the seat. A skull. Oh, hell no. I shifted into first gear and hit the gas, but the truck bucked, rolled forward a little, and shut off. The check engine light glowed on the dashboard briefly before fading away. I turned the key. Nothing. Not even a sputter. The display on the GPS began to fade too, but not before Carmine could leave me with a few parting words.
You have arrived at your sacrifice.
I ran into the back of the box truck and closed the steel roll-down divider. I tore open package after package, looking for some kind of weapon, anything I could use to fight my way out of here. Then the banging started. A slow, rhythmic banging on all sides of the truck. The sheer number of fists pounding against the steel made me realize that no matter what I found, I wasn't getting out of this. So I found this pen and notepad and wrote my story. Maybe it will save a life one day. If you're reading this, stay out of the woods. Stay away from Drake Falls. And never trust a CARMINE GP Express to take you anywhere but hell. Alexander shut off the lights in the back room and locked the door. He hobbled over to the counter and opened the register and counted the contents, placing the cash in a bank bag when he was finished. He knelt down and peered into the glass case. There she was, as always. "Back already," he said with a chuckle. "They made short work of this one." Carmine's display flickered on.
The children were pleased.